Yeah. You know, it's going to Congo. In fact, you believe equity will be bigger in Congo than here. And I think KCB is also looking to buy banking because of mining.
They actually bought. They have
Yeah,
already
so
bought.
yeah. Mining, we can trade mineral from Congo with here without having to remove. Australia get 27 billion by trading minerals. That's exchange. Somebody talk about exchange, not just coffee, without having to lift it. Right now, it's being done, but it's done in Dubai. The other day, the Ugandan announced they have done a big gold discovery, which is a lie. You know why? Because they have been exporting gold from here, from Congo and other places. And Americans have said, show us how you got this gold. Mr. Museveni, I hope no one's from Uganda here. Show us how you have made this gold. Because they have been sending gold to Dubai and it says, no, they couldn't show it. So they discover theirs. So next time they go to Karamanjong, they can pretend that they have received their gold. But that's not the discovery, according to it. So Kenya is prime. For this, we have good human capacity development, and we want to cross this gap about 12%. And we don't think it is a big challenge. But we work in parallel. We don't even have a budget. He's helping me. That's how I got to know him. We don't even have a budget. For what he can help Kenya to drive this economy, we don't have a budget. We get the Minister of Mine get a 700, which is fine. So, but those are the issues we want to address. The second thing, how many of you have a Kenyan jewelry? Please? How do we know? You know, because saborite, copper, we have Tanzanite, we have sapphire, granite. No, this is, don't feel bad about yourself. This is very common. We don't consume our own stuff. So why? Why this? We believe 10% of us can actually bring the mining industry up. How many people can access it? That's another question. Because we believe this mineral is for the foreigners. But really, you can go to Taveta today and you come with a very good thing. Yes, in boy. So you can go to Migori and get gold. The women there are selling gold with the sand. So why is it that we are not consuming? So my challenge is next time I see you, have something. Again, this is not much, it's more of the things that we want to change. Once we get a budget to change the economy, and I'm not going to go much detail about it. But I think the most question is that the fastest way to pay our debt is mining. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We did that by your presence here tonight. We hope you also join us for tonight. We have a dinner. We have somebody today. So my colleagues can basically interact because we are starting. We don't believe in holding people's dreams. We believe in empowering. I know your information is power. Coincidentally, if you look at our banner there, Chairman, we are basically coincidental, and she is aware. We are basically now mining in Starteam is mining in serious mine. And we have that discussion. So this team, one of them will be sent to the mine one of these 2 days. We would like really to have a conversation with you off the camera. And see how well Starteam can really, you can see it. We have the photos we share with you. See how you can help the mining Starteam group to grow and basically for terms of how we do our work. Have that discussion for you with you. Then next retreat, I will have set said the office is going now. The office is already there. That's now the establishment. We'll be able to be in a position to call you and then see how we can move ahead. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. And thank you so much for your information. That information is always in captive. It's always in safe. It's not shared in public. Thank you for telling us that information. And these young people that you see here, they may work in starting for 1, 2 years. From the information is my start in mining, and there's so much money in mining. It's a serious sector. You don't put them back. And all these venture, they know what happened. They open a new opportunity for us. So thank you so much, and we hope that you'll be able to join us in the evening, and we have that conversation with them the wee hours. So colleagues, I know the program, and thank you, Chairman, and I know now Mr. Arino also to be very grateful. I know you have other presentation. I know Leonard has a presentation on our company. Jennifer is still telling me that she wants to go to the unfortunately, but then we have a presentation from the Turkish guys. Yes, Turkey. You look at the program. You have the Turkey. We have the finances and the bookkeeping is here. She's here. We have listened to her. We have Mr. Motida here on business incubation. We have listened to him because he is leaving very early in the morning tomorrow. Then most of the tomorrow we do the church here. We get do the church, we praise here, then 1 hour. Also having an HR consultant, then you still have your team building activity. So you never sorry, you never maybe next time too. Okay, so I think we can have a cup of tea. Then we after 15, 20 minutes we come back. We can just say he's part of us, so we can leave tomorrow. So we can allow him to do his presentation tomorrow. Then we have yes. Then we can have you can have finances, you and Mr. Muti. So we have we make it here at 7 p.m. Fortunately, I wanted to see the sun as it is. Guys, I think we get a cup of tea, and then we come back. Sorry for the location being disturbed.
many of us know the vision and mission of Starteam? How many of us know the vision and mission of Starteam? Anyone? To volunteer? Anyone to volunteer? Oh, it's still very fresh. Sorry. The reason why I'm asking whether we understand the vision and mission of Starteam, it's because even us as employees, we need to understand what the goals of the shareholders, right? We need to understand the goals for us to be able to do our work properly and execute our duties. Then we need to understand what vision did the shareholder have in the first place for them to come up with all these companies, or what are they trying to achieve, and how do we get there? But the shareholder cannot do that alone. And the shareholder is assisted by the managers or the leadership, the people that he has entrusted with the business, and that is the company employees. All right? Are we together? I can see some of us on phones. Please. We are not going to take long, so bear with me. So once you understand the vision and mission of the shareholder, then as an employee, you subscribe, or the culture that you bear, you carry the brand with you. You're the brand ambassadors. You represent the shareholder in whatever that you do. Whether if you're entrusted with running the cafe, whether the shareholder is there or not, they expect you to make purchases on a daily basis, sell to customers, and make money. Bottom line, you have to do what? You have to make money. The aim of any or starting any business at the end of the day is the bottom line. If there's no income, then you're not able to run the business. So whatever we do, we have to have the entrepreneurial mindset. In that, the company is looking at, or the shareholder is looking at, making profit at the end of the day. So I'm going to ask a question. Where are your receipts, or where do you keep your receipts? Anyone can volunteer, because I know you do this on a daily basis. Yes, Margaret. Someone else? You all keep them in files? Database? Right. So why do we do this? And how many times have we felt that this filing business is a lot of work? We can do this, we can do that, or I do it tomorrow, then tomorrow comes and you look for a receipt. You pay for something, then you're not able to get that receipt because you didn't file it very well. Many times, right? Even in our own homes, we buy things, or probably you pay for something, and if you don't find it well, where will you find it? Probably in the trash bin, right? So it's very important that we that you will keep all the records pertaining that particular company. Part of it will also include setting budgets for tax purposes. I don't know if the managers are here. I think I'm not. How the dates when they are supposed to be submitted. And for you to be able to do proper tax returns, then and even to know what you're supposed to pay, then you have to have proper records. Because if you do not have proper records, you either underpay or overpay, and whichever way it's going to affect either your liquidity or the cash flow for the business. So it's very important that as you do all these transactions and you record the transactions, then you're also able to plan for tax purposes. Then we say it's also important to keep your records organized. If it is a file and you're dealing with client A, as you said, or supplier A, then their records, if it is payments or the orders or whatever it is, they should be properly recorded. And whatever document you receive, that document must be stamped the date it was received. And even as you file them in a chronological order. So that as you're looking for this information, you will not be looking for the information all over, because there's a certain way the information is organized. Then you should also track your expenses. And you track your expenses by making sure you file every receipt for purchases. You have to maintain your daily records, whether it is the sales, whether it is stocks that you sold on credit, whether it is payments that you've received. All that information needs to be recorded on a daily basis. And as you move to the next day, it's very important if you have a system, then you do what we call a tick back to make sure the information that you keep in the system is the correct information. So you're able, by doing that, you're able to reconcile and make sure that there are no errors or there are no discrepancies in the information in the system. Then leave an audit trail. Part of bookkeeping helps when the shareholder is not around and they want to know what has been happening in their businesses. Of course, probably every day you send your report, and this report includes what you've been able to do for the day, all the activities for the business. But the shareholder cannot rely on that information solely. So from time to time, they will send an auditor to come and check what you've been doing. And the auditor will use your records to check whether the information that has been provided to the shareholder is the right information or not. If I gave you a stock of, let's say, 100 pieces of dresses, and you tell me you sold 20, but when I go to the store, there is how many pieces left? There are only 50 pieces left. What that means is someone else doing what? Stealing from the company, right? So through the records that we keep, an auditor is able to tell what was received, because from the time you receive stocks, even when they are going to the store, you have to do what? Keep a record of what you're receiving, right? Then when you sell, you keep record of what has been sold, and by the end of the day, you have a balance of what has been left. So at the end of the trading period, whether it is at the end of the month when you're doing a stock taking, you're able to tell, I received 100 pieces, I have sold 20, I have 80 pieces left. So if there's a discrepancy, then you're able to move in and resolve quickly. But at the same time now, if there is any funny or monkey business going on, then the shareholder is able to know what is going on. Again, proper bookkeeping helps us to stay on top of accounts receivable. I know not everything that you are selling on cash, right? Are we selling everything on cash basis? No. Sometimes we sell on credit. All right. Again, not every time when we order for stuff, we pay immediately. Sometimes we pay after a month, after a week, right? So when such transactions happen, it is very important to have proper records for you to be able to know by the end of the week, I'm supposed to pay X, Y. By the end of the month, I'm supposed to collect from ABC, all right? But without proper records, you can imagine trying to remember names of people that you sold on credit basis. Is it possible? It is not possible. But if you have proper records on when you sold on credit, when they're supposed to pay, when you look at the hedging analysis of your debtors or creditors, then you're able to tell, I need to be chasing X for payment. If they are given you promise to pay, let's say on 20th, then you're able to go by 20th, you're already calling them to collect from them. Always remember that even as employees, we say in the banking sector, we say cash is the king. So if there's no money, assume every day you wake up, you go to the shop and you sell on credits, and come end of the month, you tell the shareholder, I've already sold everything, but I do not have money. And they ask you why. Then you tell them, because I sold on credit and you've not collected. Are you in business? Definitely you're not in business. Because for you to be in business, the cash must be doing what? Must be flowing in the business. Whatever you're producing must be coming back. If you have goods at the end of the month, you're looking at cash that will enable you again to restock what you've been selling. So bookkeeping helps us stay on top of our accounts receivables. And then on top of that, we said it also helps us to keep tax deadlines in mind. Of course, based on the Kenyan law, we know when if it is VAT, we know when you're supposed to pay the VAT. If it is the statutory deductions, the pay as you earn, the SSF, if you're filing that for your staff, then you ought to know which dates when you're supposed to pay that. And even for you to submit those records, then you must have proper records, whether it's payroll, you're paying your staff, whether it is the purchases that you've made, or whatever you've sold, or if you're collecting something like withholding tax, then you need to know the deadlines and make sure by that time you compile all the information required for you to be able to meet those deadlines. So we are going to look at some of the reasons why it is important to have a good financial record keeping system. And the first one, monitoring the success or failure of the business. That is the first and most important reason why we do bookkeeping and we have financial recording system in place. How can we tell whether we are doing well or not in our business if we do not have records? Can we do that? Assume in the morning you're running a cafe. There are no records and you're not keeping tabs of what you're selling. So mtu akiingia, anaingia, anakunywa chai, analipa, unanunua, you don't record. Will you be able to tell whether you're in business or not? It will be very hard. Very hard to tell how your business is doing. Because we say that at the end of the day, the bottom line is profits, right? So some of the things that bookkeeping will help us is when you're doing regular bookkeeping, you're able to tell how your sales are increasing, which days are good for you, which days are bad for you, and you're able to plan ahead based on that because you have the records. In place. Also, you're able to monitor your expenses. You're able to monitor your expenses, and also, other than monitoring the expenses, you're also able to compare your expenses and your sales because your expenses might be increasing, but your sales are not increasing. So with that kind of data, you're able to know how your business is doing and to determine which direction you're headed to. So unless you have that sort of information, it's very hard to know whether your business is getting out of control or not. So it's very important you keep record of those transactions for you to be able to know whether you're in business or not. Then these records also provide information that you need to make decisions. And how do we do this? For every decision you make, there's a financial impact to it. Whether you decide to sell or rather to buy a stock of dresses or winter jackets or whatever it is that you're going to purchase, there is a financial impact to it. And this is what helps you to determine the financial impact. For instance, if you've been, let's talk of the NN fashion by Starteam. During certain months, let's say probably during December, you'll have increased sales in probably dresses because of the holidays and all that. During the winter season, there will be something that you're selling each and every season. So in terms of stocking level, without proper records of what you've been selling each and every month, then it becomes very difficult for you to do what? To plan for future. At the same time, there will be other decisions that you need to make based on the records or the data that you're getting from your records. If probably you need or you have one staff and the traffic to the shop, you probably have high traffic to the shop and you only have one staff and customers are walking away because you do not have enough people to serve your customers. Then there will be decisions like, are the sales that you're making from that cafe able to pay a staff or able to leave it in the machine that you need to get an extra machine? Are you able to purchase? And the cost of purchasing that machine, what impact will it have on the business? Whether the sales are going to increase or your expenses are going to increase. So it's very important we evaluate the information that we receive and we record on a daily basis, that you have time to interact with it, for you to be able to make proper decisions on behalf of the company. Well, this may not be for you, But at the same time, it's very important to understand how companies are structured. And as a shareholder they will have a contribution to the company. But as the business grows, and because we are also here to grow, it is very important to understand how shareholders get funding for their businesses and how record keeping helps them to be able to obtain financing. And we are saying bankers will want to see financial statements, they want to see the balance sheet of the company, they want to see the assets that the company has. They will also want to see the shareholder's equity, the contribution of the shareholder to the company. They will want to see the income statements, basically your profit and loss account. And profit and loss account, they are looking at how you're making your money, your revenue, they are looking at your expenses, they are looking at your taxes and how you're accounting for all those things. They're also looking at cash flow budgets. And basically cash flow budget, they are looking at how, where are you getting your working capital? If you have things that you probably need to buy or assets that you need to buy for the company, whether it is a machine you need to buy for the company, whether it's a car you need to buy for the company, a banker will be looking at how, what are the sources of funds or how have you been funding your business. So other than that, sometimes they also look at how you've been doing your bookkeeping. Sometimes we've heard of people doctoring their accounts to suit a certain request or when they are pursuing investors. So they will want to look at how you do your bookkeeping, whether the information that is shared with them, it is what is contained in your books. We just saw what happened to the directors for Chase Bank, right? Yes. And that is where Kenya is headed to. We have to be people of integrity. We have to account for our actions. And as a professional, it is even more important that you take care of your professional image by doing the right thing. Because if you doctor your books, then we end up in a situation like the one we were with Chase Bank, or even sometimes when get in jail because of those funny things sometimes people do. All right. Even sometimes, I'm sure probably we've run our small businesses, probably not starting, but maybe back at home you have your own kiosk or you are a small enterprise, maybe you're selling clothes and you've employed someone to work for you. Typically, so we do all those things. I'm Oshi Andikwa. But imagine if your staff isn't doctoring the documents, telling you this is what I've done, this is what I've done, but at the end of the day, you're not seeing the money. What happens? You'll go back, audit what they have been doing, and if they are culpable, then you do what? You're probably going to call police. Senior, kweli ama uita wazee wakuja wasolve hiyo situation. So part of bookkeeping, it's very important when it comes to obtaining finances, whether we are buying assets or we are looking for working capital. Another important reason why we should, or a business should, maintain proper records is for the purposes of obtaining other sources of capital. And we say that as the business grows, we always start from some point. Probably, I'm sure probably when Joseph was starting this, he was starting alone. But as the business grows, the business needs growth. If you are expanding your business, you need more working capital. Sometimes you may not go to the bank. You might call a friend to come and do what? join the business or buy shares from your company. All right. If you're going to get an investor, that investor is going to look at your records. And we say the reason why we're doing this or why it is important for us to understand, we must have the entrepreneurial mindset that in the absence of the shareholder, that you represent the company and the shareholder. So at that point, you must make sure that the records are kept in a proper way, because the investor will be looking at the records, how you're doing your records. They will want to know whether the company is making money or not. They will want to know whether you pay your taxes or not. Because at the end of the day, no one wants to buy a company or invest in a company that does not do what? That does not pay taxes. At the same time, your creditors, we have people who are supplying you on credit. But imagine if they check your books and they found that you don't pay on time. Are they going to give you credit? No. So basically, all these people rely on the information that they get. But if you don't keep this information, then it is very difficult for them to do what? To make those decisions. Then the other reason why we do bookkeeping is for budgeting purposes. And budgeting purposes, this includes, we're talking about planning. And we have to plan, when it comes to planning, we are planning for different seasons. We are planning for different events. We are planning for probably we're doing expansion. And all these things, they are determined. How do you know you need to probably open a second cafe? How do you know you need to open another branch for NA and fashions? It is through the records that you document, the transactions that you document every day, including inquiries that you receive from customers. Probably during the course of your day-to-day, you will have customers calling and saying, probably, I want my stuff to be delivered to a certain place. I want my coffee to be delivered at this location. And by recording all that information, you're able to know where is the traffic and where are our customers. All right? You're also able to plan for the next season. If you know in the month of, let's say during the fall season, you know your customers consume a lot of coffee, then you know you need to order more coffee during that season. If you know during the hot months, they consume soda and water, then you also know when to stock what and at what amounts. So it's very important we have, we keep our records based on all the transactions that we are doing, based on all the interactions that we are having with our customers, not just for their financial records, but even the inquiries, because this is what informs us the decision, informs the decisions that we take in terms of expansion and even focusing our cash needs. So without proper records, you're not able to focus your needs, your cash needs for the future. Then we talked about preparing tax returns and whether the business is a sole or whatever form it takes, whether it's a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation, we must file what? Tax returns. Even as an individual, you must file tax returns. And the only way you make sure that you do a good job It is by making sure that you have the proper records. You prepare all these records. We say even if there's no internal accountant, you make sure that this information is relayed to the accountant. It is provided to the accountant for them to be able to prepare the financial statements and advise on what needs to be paid on what. So if accurate tax returns will be easier if you have good records, and poor records may result in underpaying or overpaying your taxes. And if you file late, what happens when you file a returns late? We are fined, right? If you don't pay your VAT by 20th, you're fined. If you don't submit your income tax returns by June 30th, you're fined. So it is a costly affair to the company if you're not able to provide records to support your business transactions. Then the last one is distributing profits. So assuming we have several shareholders owning these companies, for them it will be important, that is an important discussion. And even as an employee, it is important to understand how the company makes money and what goes to what. Even as you plan for expansion, you can only do so when you have proper records. So if they are partners, they want to see what they make, and based on their equity to the company or the money they are putting in the company, then it is the record that is going to help them to know how they are going to distribute the dividends to their shareholders. And it is our work to make sure that we pay the shareholder. The shareholder will invest money in the company, and we pay them once we make money by paying out dividends to them. So we're going to look at basic accounting concepts. And we have the accrual versus the cash basis accounting. And I know earlier on I had asked a question whether we pay everything on cash or sell everything on cash. And we say we sometimes sell on credit. So the commonly used accounting method is the accrual basis, where you record transactions when it occurs, even if cash is not paid or received. On cash basis means that you only record the transaction when you receive the cash. If you don't receive the cash, it means there's no record for that. So sometimes it is very difficult to know what you've been able to, what you've sold or what you've given out if you're not able to record what? To record the transactions that you paid in credit. But in the accrual basis, we record all transactions as they occur, and that is the most preferred accounting method. If it is expenses that you've not paid and you're supposed to pay by the end of the month, we open an account called accounts payable. So you'll be recording whatever you sold, or sorry, whatever you're supposed to pay at the end of the month in accounts payable. And once you pay, then you move them to expenses, right? For the customers we sell to on credit, if they're going to make their payment in a week or a month's time, then we open an account for them for accounts receivable. That is the money that you're going to get when you pay, when they pay. And once they pay, that becomes what? It becomes revenue to the company. Are we together? Are we together? Yeah, so the accrual basis is the preferred basis of accounting because you're able to record all the transactions as they happen. I know we said we do not have accountants in the house, but I'm just going to mention some of the words that will come across as you interact with. Some of the words that you will interact with, we have revenue. I'm sure every other time when we're doing our budgets or our scorecards, we talk about revenue, which is the bottom line. And basically, this is the money or what you receive once you sell to your customers for services or the products that you're selling. We also have income, and income is the net profit of a business, and that is the money that you remain with once you have paid the expenses and the taxes. Then, of course, the expenses is the cost that a business incurs, and it is important to understand how these things, how they contribute to the bottom line. Because if your expenses are increasing and your sales are not increasing, it means you're making losses. If cost of human capital is going up and your sales are not going up, then it means you need to make a very important decision and do what? Reduce your workforce. So all these concepts are very important. We have assets, and those are resources that our business owns. And assets, they are basically divided into two. We have current assets and we have the fixed assets or the non-current assets. I don't want to go much into those terms, but it is important we understand what they are. And current assets basically are assets that you use, or the cash, we talk about the cash, the accounts receivable, and the inventory that you use within a month. Then within a year, sorry. And then non-current assets, they are long-term assets, basically more than 1 year. So we say an account is a type of transaction and it can be cash or sales. So we talked about the accounts payable and accounts receivable. So an account is a transaction. Every transaction you make is an account. And we record based on what it is, then you record it in the proper ledger. So we have, based on all the things that you consume, whether it is coffee, whether you're adding stocks or you're expensing the stocks, then you must be recording. There is a line for debit and a credit. When you expense, we put it on the debit side. When you're increasing the stocks or when you're adding the stocks, you put it on, we record it in the credit side. And at the end of the day, the accountant will use that information, or you will be helping the accountant to come up with the trial of balance, which is supposed to help them prepare the financial statements. So for today, that is what I prepared. It's basically bookkeeping. For financial management, we can go on on and on and on. We don't want to keep you here. And you're free to ask any questions pertaining the different areas that your money in terms of bookkeeping. Any questions?
Thank you, Ellen, for the good work. So before we clap for her, we can ask questions then. And, we can shift. Any questions?
Feedback?
Yes.
Yes. We have QuickBooks, which is commonly used. I don't know. Joseph, do you have any that you're using right now? Okay.
Here's the money, but I records are all online. Here's the ones that so the receipts that are coming out, the one those all those records. I mean, I got for us most of the purposes of all the rest. Yeah, like files, all those that basically the group brothers out there of big now basically at the moment with the system that we have, basically
Alright. But we still have those post softwares like QuickBooks that help you post your transactions. And even if you want to know what you're able to do in a summarized format, you're able to pull that report based on what is being posted in that system. So there are software, they are there in the market and there are many. So based on their business needs, they can be custom made to fit the business need. But yes.
before you came, you are really in the morning about reduces the cost of sales. Yes, you can always see the users have different for example, you have a report. In that report, you also present database. Coincidentally, equally, there are targets. You know that she has to sell 1,000 cups. She has to try to do that. It's doing a performance side. So, you know, the rate. She has to do purchases. It will now be done at the group level, at the trade service level. It's basically, well, I don't think you will need that for her because you have given her the right softwares in the system. It's already incorporated. It doesn't need the nuts and the nuts of it because she has already have a system that works, which is online and integrated. So for her, most of it would be records from once you post something and it comes out of the US. Then there is even the phone. These guys are now just I put them, or maybe the card. They should have a record and keep them. Here's an audit account. Maybe the other issue would be whether she's keeping a file of all those records of purchases and sales. So that you can now see them. So so that in any case, if the system is if the auditor comes and says, yeah, that
A backup.
a backup. Perfectly, she has a backup to say, this is what I've sold. She can tell you, this month I met my target. And I've exceeded my target, so I'm employee number one. Because in performance contracting, you have to get employee number one. You have to be taking retreat, you have to take what to attend for those who are performing. The other department that are failing, they have to remain there. What happened?
It's true. It's true. When it comes to business and calculating, we talk about numbers. We don't talk about stories. We don't say, unajua leo kumekuwa kubaridi sana. I was not able to make myself, or I was not able to go out. At the end of the month, we are talking about numbers. So even as you sign the performance contract, these numbers will tell everything. But again, even for if we have the integrated system, then probably that information will be easily accessed because you're able to pull data and it will give you a report if it is sales. It can give you sales, what has been sold on a daily basis, what expenses, what have they purchased on a daily basis. By the end of the month, you can tell whether your business is making money or not. Again, you're also able to monitor the inventory. You're able to monitor the stock. The inventory basically is the stock that you hold. So if it is coffee, if it is clothes, you're able to tell in your store this is what you have at any particular point in time. And that informs you now the decisions of what you need to restock come next month. He's talking about audits, we talked about that. And the only way the auditor can do his way is he must have the record. And he will be auditing what is in the system versus what is in the files. And we talked about leaving an audit trail and ticking back your transactions. If you key in information, the next thing that you do, it is to verify that the information that you keep in the system is the right information. Because sometimes even as you're posting transactions, you might post a transaction and in a hurry, you miss a digit or two, and then you're not able to reconcile. Or if you're not doing your tick back the next day, or reconciling your document or your transactions at the end of the week, then it will be too late if you made a mistake when you are keying information. Sometimes, let's say even a customer orders 100 pieces, and by mistake, as you're doing or compiling the orders, you reach 1,000 pieces. What happens? And the next day you don't realize that you sent more than what was ordered. Because if you don't tick back, you'll not know. It means the company straight goes into loss. So it is very important to audit this information, transactions, and reconcile. By auditing, at the first point of audit is where you're doing your tick back. You yourself, as a person who is tasked with that business, you must reconcile your records even before someone else comes in to confirm the information that you've given is the correct information, because that is what the auditor will be doing, whether the internal processes are being followed, where if there are any policies on where to procure your staff from, and who you're supposed to be dealing with. That is what the auditor will come to do. They will check everything from internal controls to HR policies, safety, whether you're adhering to safety standards, all those things, they will come and check that. But for them to be able to do that, the records must be there. Any other question?
I think I wanted to add to for the manager of the one of the key targets is at the end of maybe a quarter for her to get a clean report. At the end of the year, they are doing the financial year out. One of the biggest targets for her, as people are saying, is basically a clean audit report. So these records really matters to us for so much. You know, today Happiness means I mean, sorry, it's like Paris. And roast. Even you can have a yeah, roast. Somebody sitting there and check for how the roast that looks like. Can do it. So Masuburia. Thank you for so one of this type of business growth. What you write, James maybe as an intern uh, he will be under supervision of Jennifer. Is basically going to do a James has come to work. He has filled his target and he has closed his book every day. One of the key issues, because she was employed initially as a barista, things have changed. So getting a clean report out of this record, which James is concerned, James customer on a record like that. James follows up to bring to Jennifer. So the chain is like that. So Jennifer is carrying the mzigo ya watu yote wa hiyo cafe, including the chef. So if they perform well, she can never get a 70 and then the others are getting that. So it is hard. And records, basically financial records, carry a lot of it. Because what the name Juliana was saying here, when she's doing the performance contract, she'll give you records. You tell you are signing on this. By the way, if you read a document and assign, it doesn't statistics. 30% clean audit report. One of your targets is clean audit report. You must get a clean audit report otherwise. The way Mr. Wayne was saying, all businesses are some of the alisema nini? Kwa kuivyo kwa biashara. Sasa ukienda hiyo wewe ndio sasa kuna hiyo mzigo ni yako. So 30% of clean financial records, yeah.
That's right. Because they say for you to be able to know how your business is doing, you must have proper records. And I asked when you were starting, I asked about whether we understand the vision and mission of Starteam. Because in the absence of shareholder who carries that vision and mission, it is the employee, right? Yes. So at the end of the day, you must understand your numbers, you must understand whether you're making money, you must understand whether your people are doing the right thing or not, and whether they are selling or not. Right? Kama kuna mtu wa field ametoka na anakwambia kila siku nimeenda kuuza, but when you check the record, there's nothing to show for it, and they are spending on fuel or travel expense because they need to be out there saving. You're giving them airtime allowance, but you can't see the results.
That goes to Kabata and his and Alex.
Are you able to account for what you receive from the company? Because that's part of record keeping.
Kabata and Alex, wanashida kama kujua ni where they go. So yeah, they're very busy.
But we understand how business is run, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're a logistics person, I'm sure the person who will be doing probably the performance contracting, they will tell you, if yours is a cost center, you must make sure that you minimize the what? The cost for you to be able to make money. Because if you spend all the money on transport and there's nothing left to pay the staff, what happens? We close the shop and we all go home. Yes, you must understand. That is where we talked about the cost. You must understand the department that you are assigned, how it plugs in to the bigger picture, to the bottom line, which is profit. All right? And it is for you to find ways, innovative ways of bringing that cost down. So even as they said their performance contract, one of their KPIs is on what? Cost reduction. And you should be able to show how you're doing or how you're reducing cost for your department, including whether it is the routes that you're doing, probably you're doing deliveries, you have a planned way of how you're doing your deliveries, ama tu mmoja akiitisha huku unakimbia kwanza Naivasha, then mwingine, then unakumbuka tena kulikuwa na mtu wa Kimende, lakini uliacha mzigo yake Nairobi, then you have to go back again. At the end of the day, if you do that kind of business, utafunga duka haraka. But if you have a system of identifying even how you deliver and the routes that you deliver your products, then it becomes very easy to do what? To save on cost. Any other question? And we say we are not just doing these things for the sake of record. We are all growing. I can see this is a very young team. So we are all growing even in our careers. And these are things that we will continue interacting with wherever we go. Record keeping, whether you're in banking, whether you're in the hospitality industry, whatever sector that you're in, you cannot run away from bookkeeping. You cannot run away from records. If you're a salesperson, as you do your contract, even for where I am, I have to sign a performance contract. And it is based on numbers. A budget that we come up, we sit and we budget for the year. And by budgeting for the year, we are able to know what are we looking at every month, every week. Because you can't wait for the end of the year to start looking at your performance, right? It must be continuous. Every week you must be having that conversation when it comes to how the business is performing. You must be able to tell whether you're going to meet your monthly target or not. Then from those records, then you're able to know what you need to do for you to boost your sales. So all those numbers and all those records, they are very important when it comes to running your business.
Give him a coffee to appreciate Ellen. She has done excellent job making the financial mathematics myself be very simple and easy to understand and follow. I'm sure it's not the last time to interact with her. You need to keep her close to you so that she can be able to give you the tips on how to address this myself. Najua the performance contracting now inapimwa na hii hesabu hii in business. Ile yetu ya serikali inaweza pimwa na vitu zingine, but when you're doing business, this is the ultimate the results. The results will be what the financial statement will read. That will be the measure for the output of the performance contract. So, Joseph, we have another presenter.
No, we don't have another presenter. We have pushed you at the other two.
Okay.
The other guys also have. You can do that at 7 p.m.
So then I return back the program to you so that you can conclude for us.
I don't want to go back. Thank you so much, Mr. for being our facilitator. I guess we can only give Madam a few minutes to prepare a word of advice to Togo. Then we break. The sun is going down, but it's not on the for the first time. Yesterday they enjoyed it, so today is okay. Tomorrow they have a team with activity. Madam, if you can propose for us, we would really appreciate. And then we can agree that tomorrow at exam tonight, so that we can consider the honor to have the guy from Canberra, then the guy, and then the Turkish, the Istanbul guys. Yeah, we'll be done, then we go forward from there. Better. Yeah, I think we have the group from Canberra, Australia. We have the Istanbul people, then we have the Tinder, then we have Leonard. So basically that is it. Then we call it a weekend already for this. Madam, you don't mind, you can give us a word of advice. You mind here? Or wherever you are comfortable with, madam.
Thank you. And thank you all, specifically for this invitation, because whenever we get to a place where we are discussing business, the business that is young, business that is growing, and there is the potential, a lot of it. And like today, as I was looking at that poster, I can see the listed address. And I was just thinking, if only just 5 of them would pick off maybe in the next 1 year or so, you realize that there's so much potential. For me, it's just to encourage the staff team and tell you that with the kind of exposure that you are being given by the company, be it in coffee, be it also in the animal feeds, be it even in dairy, because all these, you can see they are related to what we are doing on our farms, and a few others that I would say probably look a bit new, but very interesting, like the subject that we discussed today on mining. We realize that there is so much potential. And for the team that has this opportunity to be part of the Starteam, I would only say that there is the sky is the limit. And if, as we say, if you've been coffee and you get into it passionately, you realize that you will be learning all the time. It doesn't get to an end. Even after probably over 30 years working on coffee, I still learn new things even today. And I would just like to remind you what Jasmine mentioned, that if you are passionate, you think of how to present that coffee. We believe that now we are at the point where we need to be looking at the local market. And starting cafes have so much potential, not to do what has been done by Java, because Java may not have served everybody, but there are still other groups of people to whom that Starteam will appeal to. And something that I learned from the industry, like the CJ, I'm sure we are all familiar with the CJ. And I don't know whether you have noted something unique that gets served in CJ that you don't get in Java, you don't get in Art Cafe. Anybody who would like to suggest? what they have observed, those who have been there. How many have been in a CJ coffee shop? Helen, something you noted that was served that is not served by Java, the cookies. Okay, Java also is serving cookies. Something else? Yeah, I'm saying this for the benefit of Jennifer, because in CJ, any of you who likes eating plantains, fried plantains, yeah, and that is so African, and that is something that they brought along from Uganda as they were coming to start in Kenya, and a lot of Kenyans are enjoying that, and I believe that as Jasmine challenged, you may realize that there is something that we can offer that is not offered by the other coffee houses. Again, if you allow me to just speak a little bit more on coffee, we have moved from the time when coffee used to be served by a coffee house, and there was just a cup coffee that was boiling there at the counter the whole day, and some milk. And when you went there and you wanted coffee, they would put the milk and the coffee, and you have your cup of coffee. The younger people are so interested in unique small things, and it will be up to those who are in the cafes to make it really interesting for people, even as we give more information about our coffee, because there's no coffee that is like any other, even among our Kenyan coffees. And if you can have maybe different offers, different days, as Jasmine mentioned, because we have different regions of Kenya, that may also be of interest. Because there's somebody who come and say that I took certain coffee that was called this, that's what I would like to have it again. And as we wind up today, I would just encourage you to do your best. You have the energy, and I'm sure you have the knowledge and the resources. And Starteam can be the dream young group of companies in the next 2 years. Asanteni sana.
Thank you so much, Madam, for really your invitation. You, those guys who don't know about Madam, just go and look at it. You really want to get a glimpse of, you see, our main trading business is coffee. Madam, by the way, all these other businesses are working. It's just that now we are formalizing them. They have been working on their own way, Togo, in a for 1 month, Tuko. They have their own accounts. Yeah, they are all registered.
Okay.
Kila kitu kako na kitu yake. Now it's just at the point of consolidation, and really it's something that has been tested. And it's basically now getting the right money for all the sectors, and basically moving forward. They are all there, and you can see they are all related. In one case or another, logistics, for you to transport coffee, you need a logistic way to, for you to supply clothes to the farmers, day and day, the logistics. For you to do the tea training, you need an institute. For you to do the internship program that we are running, can be done by the institute. For you to produce a good coffee, you require the farm. For you to have those farms, and for Jennifer to get some nice milk, for transparency purposes, because some people are also selling new farm milk. You need your own cows. For your own cows, they need the feed. For the feed, they need to be transported by vehicles which have spare parts, and we need them. For the cows, when they grow old, they need to be butchered, and then you sell the meat. So see, kitu yote imeshikana, and then for wazee fry jioni, you need the calories. Unamaliza hiyo kitu. Na warembo wakitaka kukaa vizuri, wanaenda hiyo liver spot, wanatengenezwa nywele na wakulima za kahawa. for a farmer to build a nice house, you need the construction company, the quarrying and the mining. So they are all related. Kwa hayo machache nimesema tumeshukuru. As we travel back home, you have done the masses. Sisi tunaenda hizo dia chini kidogo kwa career the lake. Buzi kidogo. I hope Alex will allow you to meet your buzi kidogo. You are having a buzi hata kama utakuwa babu. Then safari salama. Asanteni sana and good people. Over for today. See you tomorrow. Then we see there. Mimi sijui mnataka kuramba. Whoever if you can sleep there. Kuna DJ. Bora tu tupatane hapa sana.